hands with somebody who looked utterly unlike anyone I'd ever met before. His long hair was braided like a Rastafarian. He had a pale white face, huge arched eyebrows, and wore ornate robes of a geisha girl. Although we knew the Culture Club was an extraordinary creation, their first single, White Boy, was stillborn. Virgin released it on the 30th of April 1982, but nothing much happened. It sold around 8,000 copies. We didn't mind. We really felt that as soon as Boy George was properly photographed, or if we could get him on Top of the Pops, which was the big programme in England, some people remember, his records would take off. People just had to see Boy George and they would want to buy his music. Teenagers would go mad for him. As well as looking astonishing, George had a fabulous voice and was very witty and charming, as I hope you'll find out tonight. He was a rebel in a totally different way from the Sex Pistols or James Dean, but a rebel nonetheless. Well, Virgin brought out Culture Club's second single, I'm Afraid of Me, in June, and although it sold better than White Boy, it only reached 100 in the charts. Culture Club carried on recording their album, Kissing to Be Clever. But when we released Culture Club's third single, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?
Okay, there you go.
On the 3rd of September 1982, that ages me, it was our final attempt to launch the band. Well, funnily enough, Radio 2, which is the sort of middle road radio station, not the hip one, but people for our age rather than the youngsters, played the song before Radio 1, and general reviews of the single were poor. Watered down 4th Division reggae road smash hits, awful, but with the Radio 2 exposure, it crept up the charts, up to number 85 in its first week, number 38 in its second week. We plugged him as hard as we could, but the BBC refused to interview Boy George, calling him a transvestite. Today they would get sued. Then we heard about a cancellation on Top of the Pops. And we did everything we could to get Boy George into that slot. And when Top of the Pops finally agreed, we suspected we had a sensation in the making. With his white face, his swaying robes, his felt hat, and impossible arched eyebrows, Boy George beat every other sophisticated romantic band, such as Spandau Ballet, at their own game. He appealed to all teenagers, both male and female, as well as to children as young as 8 or 9, and their grandmothers to boot. It was impossible to define why he was so popular. Parents wanted to mother him, girls wanted to be as beautiful, boys wanted their girlfriends to be as beautiful. It's impossible to quantify. I think I'm going to sell a book or two here.
I think you might.